Hello and welcome back. So, in today's video, we're gonna take a look at this guitar right here. It has 6 strings, but as you can probably tell from the bridge, it is a 12 string. Now, during the summer, I was out having a good time and I stumbled upon a secondhand shop, peeked inside, and the first thing I saw was this guitar. It's a 12 string. Now, I had a 12 string many years ago, but I got rid of it. It's actually my one guitar that I got rid of that I wish I hadn't gotten rid of. Guitar story. But anyway, I've always wanted a 12 after that, but I've never been able to justify either building one because it's like, it's gonna be a lot of work, and you know, who wants to see that? But also buying one, they're usually more expensive, especially for left-handed people like me. So I was really happy finding this. I bought it for about $50, and it's all, it has a little bit of damage. It has a couple of things that we need to fix. So it's going to be a restoration video. Yay! And then we'll have to make a new nut for it, and we have to turn it left-handed. So there's going to be that too. So if you want to see some acoustic guitar restoration, you're going to get a little bit of that. And if you want to see a guitar be turned into left-handed guitars, because maybe you are left-handed too, then you're going to get some of that as well. And then we're going to put new strings on it, because obviously we need new strings. Not just because, we need the other 6 that aren't on it, but also because we need good strings, because these are kind of old and crummy and gross. So then we'll play it. I think it's going to be good. So let's put this on the bench and get started. Sounds good? I think it sounds good. I'm excited. I hope you're excited too. Alright, first off, I have jerry-rigged my little neck rest up with a piece of wood and a clamp just to make the guitar lie somewhat securely and flat. It doesn't have to be perfect because we're not going to do anything super major that is, has the guitar have to be super well clamped. And if I change my mind and we have to do that, I'll reclamp it then. But anyway, let's cut these strings off. There we go. Okay, let's see if we can get rid of them. All in all, this guitar is in pretty well condition. It has a bit of scratches here and there, but I don't really care about that. Cosmetic wear is a part of a guitar, and as you probably know, I like my guitars a little worn, especially since I do so much relicking anyway. Some of these string winder things comes with a little tab that lets you pull these out. I'm going to put them just to the side right now. Gently lift it up. There we go. You don't want to squeeze it with pliers on it because you might accidentally break it. Okay, we're going to take a look at this bridge. As you probably can tell, or at least you will when we go in for a little bit more close-ups, we have a crack in the bridge going all the way. You have a tiny little crack here as well, but I want to take a look at this bridge and see if I can pop it off, see if I can glue it up and rebuild it. If I can't, I'm going to make a new bridge. I don't really want to do that because it's a little bit more time and energy than I was hoping that I would have to put in. I kind of was hoping this would be a one-day build and then I could play the guitar. We're going to remove this pickguard, or at least try to. Let's see. There we go. Oh, a little bit of lacquer came with there, so that's a little annoying. We'll put this on the wall here for now. As a reminder. I got it off. I probably should have done that a little bit more carefully, but it felt like it was already falling off, but it apparently wasn't really. But that's okay. We can spot finish that, fix it, and we can sort all of that out. So here's a little bit of 12,000 grit sandpaper. Now, you might think that looks bad. You can clearly tell that the sun has affected the guitar all over, but not here. Well, the thing is, you can fix that. There are a lot of different ways to do it. One way is to just leave it and see what being in the sun will do to it. And that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to take a thinker at some point and we'll come back to it. But we needed it off because then we can get around to the bridge, which is what we're actually trying to get to. So we'll come back to it and we'll try to fix this little chip right here in the lacquer. You'll get close up when we get to that. But for now, let's see if we can get this bridge off. I'm going to take a feeler gauge, I suppose it's called, or something, and see, just see what we have. A pretty big gap here. It's not going all around, it's just on the... No, never mind, we did have it a little bit here as well. Let me just feel around. It's not there, but it is here. How's the bridge underneath here? Oh, that's not good. Oh, when you put your hand in and you get a bunch of chip outs, which tells me that they glued this bridge on and then they drilled through and they just plunged straight through without thinking. This is not a very expensive guitar. I've never even really... I don't think I've ever heard of the brand. Marina. You gotta see her. Marina, you gotta see her. Something like that. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can pop this bridge off. And we'll see what happens. So, I got the bridge off. Here it is. There's some plastic things in it. I don't know. I'm going to put them to the side. I don't think I'm going to need them. Here's the bridge anyway. I got it off. The camera died, so you didn't get to see the actual popping off, which is always a shame. But it was very uneventful. What you got to see was basically the process of how I got it off. I lifted it up slowly with a chisel, and I felt underneath with feeler gauge, and I poked around a little bit, and you know, in some places a little bit of the grain from the actual top of the guitar was following off, but I could like knock it down and get it off. I have a little bit of cleanup, as you can see. And yeah, first we're gonna fix this, because as you can probably tell, or at least I hope you can see this. I don't know how well the camera is picking it up, but there's a crack here. I don't know how old this guitar really is. Does it say on the inside when it's from? No. It has a place where you can write that, so we might add that and write something crazy like 2 years before Jesus was born or something. I don't know, whatever we want. Sorry, that's a bad joke. But I'm gonna break this apart like so, and I'm gonna glue it back together. I'm gonna take wood glue, but I have a strong wood glue that I'm gonna use. It's a D4 glue, I think. Is it? Yeah, it's a D4 glue. It's a little bit harder than regular wood glue, but it's gonna do good. It's gonna do fine. We're gonna glue it up, leave it to dry for a bit. So there you can see a little bit of damage when I lifted off the pickguard. The pickguard was almost already off, so I'm actually surprised. I'm usually more careful lifting them off than I was, but I thought I didn't need to. But anyway, there you see it. And here's the bridge, and as you can see, it's a little bit rough, so I'm gonna mask off the area, and I'm gonna see if I can't sand a little bit. Okay, let's see here. Here we have the bridge, and we need to glue this obviously back on. You can see we have a couple of strains that are sticking out. I'm just gonna remove them, you know, just break away. And yeah, we might fill that gap if we see too much of a gap. But honestly, I think the glue will fill up that and just have a little bit of extra space. I'm just gonna break these off like that. I'm not gonna care too much about the bit of top that is on this back. We're gonna remove that later once everything has dried. Now I'm just gonna see here, does it go together neatly? I feel like it does. Feel around a little bit. Let's prepare our masking tape. Obviously, once the glue is on, everything is going to start getting messy. So I'm just going to peel a masking piece of tape like that, put it to the side. And I'll do 4. I think that will be good enough. Just long strips. It's almost like when we're gluing on binding. You know, we prepare strips of tape. Get some glue on here. And anyone who thinks this might not be a good idea, First of all, yeah, it might affect the tone, but I've never played this guitar, so I don't actually know. And if I have to make a new bridge, that's also going to change the tone, because this is most likely, you know, like pretty old rosewood or something. It looks like rosewood to me, the good stuff. So I might not be able to get as nice a piece of rosewood. Back in the day, they thought that rosewood would last forever. So I put a piece of tape on and I pull it taut over where the glue is and back around. And I'm going to do both ends first. Just pull it taut to get basically like a clamp. You can use special clamping rigs as well if you want to. Will work just as fine. And we are going to have to sand the bridge and make it all nice and smooth, because there is a little bit of damage that will be visible. So even if the glue does glue down the tape, which I think it might do because it's going to squeeze out, we are not going to care. But there we go. Now we just have to leave that to dry for a bit. A couple of hours actually. We might not even get this one day built today. We might have to do some tomorrow. We'll have to go ahead and see, but there it is. I'm going to put it away. Leave it to dry. So the next thing is take a little bit of masking tape and try to mask off this area. I'm not going to go over crazy masking this area off. Get some super glue. Stabilizing this a little bit might help, because I don't want too much of this to lift off. I want to even out the area so that I can get a good glue surface, but I don't want to break the grain too much. So while we're waiting for some glue and some other stuff to just do its work, I'm just gonna something like that. That looks nice and clean. Let's take a little bit of this. I always feel like you have to shake it a little bit to make it work and get it going, and that's probably more than enough. Just gonna smear it about, get it evenly distribute across the fretboard, and then we're just gonna stand here and enjoy the smell. So let's see if we can sand this again. Alright, so it's been a little bit more than 5 minutes actually, because I kind of lost track of time. Let's dry off the excess, see if we can get rid of it. There we go. Looks really nice, I think. Right? I'll take you in for a close-up. So let's see if we can get the nut off. I think it's just a little bit of glue that we need to break the bondage of. Let's see if we can just give it a tiny little tap. It's not. Usually that's enough. Let's see if we can just lift it then. Ah. There we go. Came out real clean and nice. Alright, we got rid of that. Here we have it now, the nut, and I'm gonna see if I can find a piece of bone that is roughly the same size, preferably a little bit bigger, and just copy it. Alright, so here we have it. Here I have a piece of bone that I just cut out. It's a really nice piece. It's big, hard, heavy. I mean, it is a bit bigger as you can see, but it weighs like 3 times as much. So first we need is to flatten out this side here. This is the inner side, so it's a little rounded, as you probably can tell. So I'm just gonna move it back and forth like this until it's flat. All right, so once I've flattened out one side, I need to make it 90 degrees. So if you look at this nut, you can see the bottom is flat, and then the side where the fretboard meets up with it, it's 90 degrees. Or at least that's what it should be. I mean, obviously, you never know with inexpensive plastic things. But we don't have to do things poorly just because someone else did it poorly at some point. So let's take our square. Let's line this up. The flat side. That's the flat side. Hold it up. And to not waste a bunch of material, I'm going to put it as close to the edge as I can and draw out a line. Hope you can see that. I draw the line, and I'm going to try to basically hack that away. And I might use different tools for it. I might start with just see if I can maybe hog away most of this. Like this, for example. I think I'm gonna just go like this for now. Alright, so once you've shaped it a little bit, am I in frame? You take your square and you hold it up like this, and you just run it through, like so, to see if it's all flat and square. And 90 degrees, which it is. Then you can put it on something flat, and if you have a bit of wiggle in it, which I don't, then you know you need to flatten it, but I have no wiggles, so it's all good. Then we just take a pen and we run it along here. I'm just gonna take this file here, and I'm just gonna sit like this. Alright, so here we have it now, and it went faster than I thought it would, because the old knot was a little bit too small. So moving this up to the line where it fitted was easier, because I didn't have to remove as much as I thought I would have to. But here it is. I used my belt sander real quickly to just round this over. This is the belt, I just held it like this and I just rocked it back and forth and just made a smooth little transition on it. But it sits really solid in place. So, that's good. We want that. When you make a knot, before we go into the slots and things like that, obviously, but at this stage, this is really important. The knot needs to be securely in place, and it is. It's so well in place. I mean, obviously I can rock it back and forth because there's no back here, but I can feel that it's like really solid in place. Yeah, I have a perfect match up on all sides, and it can basically stay in place without glue. We're gonna glue it, of course, but you want a really nice tight finish. I'm gonna take a razor blade and hold it up to the neck like this, and I'm gonna just give myself a little score line here. Okay, so here's the knot. I filled in the lines because there was no way I could get the camera to actually look at that. And now I'm just gonna remove this and move up to that line. And as you can see, I have an outline from the old knot here, and they line up almost. So I feel like if I remove some of this and then slowly walk my way up, I can get a good match. Now I'm actually going to use my belt sander to just rock this back and forth a little bit to just knock down the sides a little bit, because it is a little curved like that. So here we have it. And there it is. So if you look at this side, for example, I can feel the knot obviously because there is a texture change going from one thing to another, but it is actually perfectly flat with the sides. So I would call that a success. You can see that the edge is still square and it's kind of sharp. So from that corner there up to that corner there, I'm just going to round off this back just a little bit, make it nice and smooth. And then I'm going to take the other side, and then I'm also going to sand it. And I'm going to sand this knot up to, I think 400, and then we'll just buff it later. Might sand it with like 1200 grit or something. Let's give ourselves one drop of super glue on each side, just a tiny bit. We don't need that much. The knot is going to hold itself in place. Alright, so before I continue working on the knot, I'm going to take a look at this bridge now, because it's been left to dry for a bit. Let's see if it's good enough. Oh yeah. Just take the tape off. So you can see it's not as dark as it's made to be. So it's like been painted or something. Give it an oil finish or something. And maybe use a little bit of wood to fill in those gaps. I think that might work. Okay. So First we need a piece of wood. If we hold this piece of wood up against the bridge, I'm gonna see if I can do this with one hand. It could potentially be fiddly. And we move it up here and we pull it along like this. There we go. And then later I'm gonna take my circular saw and just cut that line out. And then I can just, after we fill this and the glue is dried, I can just put this up here, but I'll flip it around and then I put that as a guide and I'll use that to route out, and I have a tiny little template for that. I'll show you later. Now we have that done. I have this fretboard here and it is 5 mil. How deep is this? It's 6.5. So I think I'm gonna just cut out basically a piece of this old fretboard that is the same thickness as this, and then just glue it in. All right, so here it is, and now we're gonna glue in this little piece of wood that I've matched up and made sure it fits at least somewhat. So I'm just gonna squeeze in a little bit of glue. We are just surface glue. We don't go that deep. Terrible joke. Get that in there and just press it with my fingers a little bit. It is pretty tight, but that's because we want a really tight fit. And then this piece here broke just before I started recording. There it is. And now I'm just gonna get a mallet and I'm gently just gonna tap this in. Take the old nut, drop it on the floor, see if we can find it. Pick it up, put it up against the old nut against the new nut like this. Line them up so that they fit perfectly. And then I'm just gonna, and I'm sorry my hand is in the way for this, but I'm just gonna hold them up and just make a mark for every string, like so. There we have them. Then I'm gonna take a ruler, and this is one of the reasons why I like having like smaller rulers and things like that, because then I can hold the ruler up like this to the tuner. It's one side up to where that string is gonna go. There, just hold it there, draw a line, and then go to the next one and hold it up to the line, draw a line like so. Do the third one. Now we're on the A string. And as you can see, I'm getting a direct, depending on what sort of nut you're making and depending on what sort of guitar you're building, the nuts need to be different. As you can see here, for example, or we'll see when we cut them, these need to be straight. On something like a Fender, for example, a Stratocaster, for example, because I mean there are acoustic Strats as well, you will have all these basically be 90 degrees. But on something with like this, where the strings are going to go slanting off to one side, you really want to make sure that you make a straight line for string. And then we just continue. I don't know if you can actually tell, but they are not 90 degrees. They're pointing towards the tuner, and they're pointing towards the outside because when the string is on, it goes through, you know, the hole in the peg head, but it's not gonna actually be in the center. The string is gonna lie on the outside as it gets more and more wrapped up. So that's why I do it like this. I just hold it up to the tuner and I mark it. Then I move to the next one. And you can see this is not that hard, but it's one of those little details that will make a difference later on. And on the two last ones, the E strings on both sides, it's almost like it is 90 degrees. I mean, if we check it, we will most likely find that it's not 90 degrees. But on the G and the D string, you can really see that there is a slight curve to them. So they're pointing away. All right, so we know the angle, and that is obviously straight down, but angled to the back with the lines we've just drawn out. But we don't know the depth. And there are a lot of different ways you can set this, but the easiest way is to just take a pen and split it in half and sharpen it so that it has a flat edge, like the one I'm holding, or at least trying to show you here. We put it on frets like this, move it up to the nut, and we just rock it back and forth like this. And there we have a line that shows us exactly where our strings need to go. It's that easy. That line, we just have to cut down to it, and we'll stop just short of it, like 1/10 of a mil or something silly like that, you know, some extremely small. So when we're down and we can still see the line under our blade, we know to stop, right? And then we can smooth out and fix the top and make it look nice. So here's the nut, and now I'm going to start cutting them down. Here I have a pack of strings that is going on once I'm done, and it's time to string this up. And on the back here I can see the sizes. So I'm just going to match those up. That's usually what I do. It's not super important that you do it exact. I feel like there's a little bit of leeway, so I'm going to cut this first. I don't know what you guys think, but I feel like maybe this nut could come down a little bit because the strings are going to be really far in there. So I think I'm going to see if I can't knock it out a little bit. And I have a radius gauge to check and see that I keep the radius the same. This is it's a 9.5. So yeah. Okay, so here we have it now. There's a little bit of dust on it. We need to clean that up. We'll do that later. I feel like that's a decent place to start. We might want to take it down even more later. We'll see. Now, we need to do the round over again. Okay, let's see if we can't get our hands wrapped around this bridge a little bit. We can get... This glue is so hard once it's dried. Alright, so here it is now. I've sanded it, and I gotta say, I know some of you probably don't care, but it smells like old rosewood does. So I think this might be an older guitar. Not very much older, but a little bit older. Anyway, I haven't really decided if I'm gonna try to put a little bit of stain on here and match it up a little bit better, but I kind of like seeing the wood. So I think I'm just gonna put a little oil on it, make it come alive. You see how nice it looks, and just let that soak in. And then I think I'm just gonna see if I can't glue this back on and make it all look nice and everything. So there it is. Gonna leave it to dry for a little bit. All right, I'm gonna glue in bridge. I have a piece of wood that I'm putting double-sided tape on and pressing in, so I hope that will help. Now I'm just gonna put some of this wood glue here. Just gonna align this bridge back in its place. And the piece of wood is there so that the clamps don't hit the actual bracing. I'm just gonna leave it like this. I'm gonna come back in a couple of minutes and feel the clamps again. Just tighten them ever so slightly like this. Just because sometimes clamps give up. You know, the wood is a living thing, all of that. You know, you should always do that when you're dealing with clamps. Alright, so here we are now. The glue is dried. Let's remove these clamps and see what we have. Rather good. We have a little bit of glue squeeze out right here, which you might be able to tell. And so I'm taking an X-Acto knife and I'm just running it around like so, and up next to it. Let's see what happens if we can get rid of this. Right, so everything is pretty good to go. We could technically put strings on this guitar, except one thing, and that is we need a cavity on the bridge for the bridge, you know, the saddle thing, whatever, so that we can actually have strings on it. A minor detail, not super important. Anyway, what I did was I took a block, I held it up to the bridge, and I copied the line that is the bridge, so we have the right angle. And I'm gonna take and cut this out. Let's jump into that, and I'll show it on the bridge, and hopefully it will all make sense. Okay? So here we have it now. I made a new block because the other one was too small and it was a little bit too flimsy. And so I just did everything I just showed you again, but I sized it up to be a little bit chunkier. I made a special little pleat for my router because I didn't have anything that would let me get close enough to do this. And hopefully this I can reuse. And now this comes in here around the middle. I'm gonna mark that out, I think, and just sort of try to slowly bring it in, start from there, and then just push myself to each side and cut away maybe a mil or possibly 2, and I'll do that for a bit until we're down I don't know, 4 mil maybe 5, something like that. We'll see. Let's start it. There we go. Okay, so there we have it. You see, it fits in. It's a little wonky in there because I didn't have anything to route the channel with that was small enough for this one. So I'm gonna have to replace this. But this is just a crappy piece of plastic. So hopefully by making a new one that is a mil bigger, we'll make everything perfect. Remove that. But before we do that, I'm gonna take some of the sawdust and I'm gonna plug that tiny little hole there. I don't know if I can get you in to see it. But if you look right there, not hopefully, because if you can't see it, that's probably good for me, but there's like a little gap right there where the router, I should have changed the battery, basically. I didn't think about it, and then I started routing, and the battery died on me. So yeah, I'm gonna do that super quickly off camera. I'm just gonna put a little bit of protective tape and put in a bunch of sawdust, you know, from this here in to fill it up. And then I'm just gonna put in some super glue, and it will be good. All right, so I've put some shellac on the bridge to make it look nice. And as I'm working that up, I'm also going to put some shellac in here just to seal this up and let that drain into the wood and into the little cracks and stop that from going any further. And it also makes it sort of disappear. Obviously, if you look real close, you'll be able to tell. But on the camera, which is what's important, no, but it disappears a little bit. And so yeah, hopefully that works. So now the guitar is done and we're ready to put strings on it. Here's the new nut and it's all good. And yeah, it's been sanded and polished and it looks real nice. And down here we have the new bridge and it looks all perfect and well and nice, I think. I say new bridge because it looks like a new bridge. You can barely tell that I've done something to it. And I've sanded and polished it as well. I'm going to put strings on it now, and then I'm going to stretch the strings and maybe do a little bit of intonating and set the string height a little bit and things like that. And then I'll be back to play the guitar. But I want to say just thanks so much for watching. If you're new here and you haven't seen any of my other videos before, there are more videos on the channel and there are more videos coming to the channel. So don't forget to press the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. And yeah, There is one more thing that I need to say before I go and stretch the strings and do all of that, and that is that I actually made a mistake. And that is that I made the guitar to have the thicker string first and the lower string second. And on a 12 string, it's usually the other way around. But I've only ever played upside down. So for me, that is the normal way. If that's not the normal way for you, then you have to keep that in mind. I sort of just went off of what I already know and didn't think much about it. But I did catch myself that at the end thinking, wait, I should have done everything backwards. So this guitar is going to be a little bit different than what normally you might think or what some of you might be used to. But yeah, that's just the way it's going to have to be for now. I might change it in the future. Don't forget to stay awesome and cool.